Let's be real. If you're trying to ship complex AI, you know just how huge the risks are. So today, we're going to break down a brand new operating system that's designed to tackle those risks head-on. It's really a business case for a faster and much safer way to deliver what we call agentic AI. You know, those systems that can actually act on their own to solve problems. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get clear on the challenge that pretty much everyone is facing with AI delivery. Then, we'll introduce this new idea of an enforceable operating system to solve it. From there, we'll dive into the nuts and bolts of how it works, see its gated delivery process in action, and then wrap it all up with a clear, no-nonsense business case for why you should make this change.
Okay, first up, the AI delivery challenge. You know, the core issue is actually pretty simple. The way we've always shipped software just wasn't built for this new world of agentic AI, where costs can absolutely spiral out of control and safety is everything.
And that leads to a really critical question that every leader has to ask themselves. Are your delivery methods actually built to handle these unique AI risks, or are you just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best?
Well, when we talk about AI risks, we're really facing three giants. The first is economic non-viability. This is where you ship a product that looks amazing in a demo, but it collapses under its own inference costs, basically the cost of the AI thinking once it hits the real world. Second, you have safety failures, where your AI agents just go off script in ways that could be really harmful. And third, a problem we all know, but now it's on steroids, wasted engineering cycles, building the wrong thing for months and months on end. So, how do we fight those giants? With an enforceable operating system. Now look, this isn't another PDF of best practices that gathers dust on a server somewhere. No. This is a rigorous, evidence-based system that actually forces the right conversations and controls at exactly the right time.
It's called the Shipyard Trio model, and it's built from the ground up to target those risks we just talked about. It's evidence-based, so opinions don't drive your decisions anymore, data does. It's economically grounded, so you don't accidentally launch a product that bankrupts the company. And crucially, it's resilient to office politics because it makes everyone's actual contributions visible and totally verifiable.
And this slide really shows the massive leap we're talking about. The old way was just a concept. The new way is a real operating system. We're going from just being aware of risk to doing mandatory hazard analysis. We're moving from viability and principle to having explicit gates for capital and operational expenses, your Capex and Opex, that your finance team can actually sign off on. It's a fundamental shift from just having ideas to having real enforcement.
All right, so how does this thing actually work in practice? Let's dig into the core mechanics that drive that accountability and evidence. First, the model splits all the work into two clear streams. On one side, you've got capability and invention. This is led by engineering. Think of this as them building a powerful, reusable engine. On the other side, you have application and outcomes, which is led by product. This is all about putting that powerful engine into a car that actually solves a real customer problem. The model creates a binding contract between the engine builders and the car designers, forcing them to work together.
And at the heart of all of this is what we call the agentic trio. Your product manager is on the hook for business outcomes and viability. Your designer owns user trust and what happens when things go wrong, and your architect is accountable for technical feasibility and safety. The key is no single perspective can dominate. Decisions have to be integrated.
And here is maybe the biggest cultural shift of all. In this system, an idea is just talk. Work only becomes real when it's captured in one of these mandatory artifacts. You cannot move forward without them. A problem brief forces you to prove you understand the problem. A bet record makes your trade-offs explicit for everyone to see. And look, this isn't bureaucracy for the sake of it. This is how you build a real evidence-based culture.
So now let's see how all these pieces, the trio, the artifacts, all come together in a gated delivery process. This is what gives us predictable control, all the way from a raw idea to real-world impact.
The entire life cycle is a series of gates, and you cannot pass one with hard evidence. What's really interesting is that we don't just gate the solution, we gate the problem itself. Is it even a real problem? Then we gate the cost hypothesis. Can we actually afford to build and run this thing? Then the concept, the build, its readiness for release, and finally, we review the real-world outcomes. Every single gate is a mandatory go or no-go decision point.
Let's zoom in on that very first gate, the problem gate. Okay, it starts with raw customer requirements, as you'd expect, but then look at step 2. We use our own AI to generate the first draft of requirements and a traceability matrix. The PM then authors the formal brief using that AI-generated evidence before the rest of the trio jumps in to add their notes on risk and feasibility. Now, this is a really important point, so I want you to catch this. The model doesn't just help us build AI. It helps us use AI to improve our own process. And by tracking the AI's contribution to our own workflow, we get real, hard metrics on our team's AI adoption and their productivity gains. We're proving the value of AI internally before we even ship a single thing.
And that is the entire point of that first gate. Before anyone writes a single line of production code, we are forced to prove with evidence that we actually understand the problem, that we know how to measure success, and that every single one of our requirements is traceable and testable.
Okay, next up is a gate that literally prevents financial disaster, the cost hypothesis gate. So what exactly does this checkpoint prove?
This gate forces 4 non-negotiable proofs. 1, there's a credible path to actually build it. 2, we understand what's really going to drive the cost and the risk. 3, we make all those hidden costs like latency or audit requirements totally explicit. And 4, it forces a crystal-clear go-no-go decision on the economics. This is the gate that stops us from building those functionally amazing but financially disastrous products.
So let's bring it all home and summarize the business case. What are the tangible, bottom-line benefits of actually adopting this system?
First off, you will drastically reduce waste. That rigorous problem gate forces your teams to immerse themselves in the problem space before they start building anything. It structurally prevents that solution-first behavior that we all know kills so many projects.
Benefit number 2, and this is a huge one, you prevent non-viable launches. By forcing those Capex and Opex gates early and often, the model makes unit economics part of the conversation from day one. This is how you stop the business from shipping a product that literally drowns in its own success because it's just too expensive to run.
And benefit number 3, you will ship safer, more operable solutions, period. Mandatory hazard analysis is baked right into the design process. Every single risk has an owner, and critical operational tools like runbooks and rollback plans are simply non-negotiable for a release.
And this all leads to the final and maybe the most crucial benefit of all. It's about your culture. Because every single contribution is tied to verifiable evidence, the system structurally blocks what we call narrative capture. It surfaces the real talent, the people who are actually delivering impact, not just the ones with the best political skills. It creates a true meritocracy of evidence.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this one question. Is your operational spending, your OPEX, paying you to learn? Or is it paying you to pretend that a flawed strategy is actually working? This model provides the system to ensure that every single dollar you spend is a dollar spent on learning and on delivering real, viable, and safe value to your customers.